This tutorial is for Clue 1 of the Connote pattern by Janica Carter, which is the 2025 year-long mystery crochet along pattern from Expression Fiber Arts. Before I start actually doing the tutorial, I did want to upfront say there are timestamps in the video description. So if you're watching this somewhere besides on YouTube, you're going to want to click either the title of the video that's up near the top or the YouTube logo that's down near the bottom, so you can jump over to YouTube and actually be able to access the video description that has all those timestamps. So you can just jump to the parts you want to watch and skip the rest. Second, I did, let me just apologize. I did put out a Clue 1 video earlier. I went all the way through and made it, and it wasn't until I got in to edit it that I realized that the yarn I was using, the actual CashSilk Sock yarn that I was using, just it reads really, really dark on the screen. And so it makes the stitches really hard to see. And the whole purpose of doing these videos is so you guys can see what I'm doing. And so rather than make everybody wait for even longer for me to get another video put out, I did go ahead and release that video, but honestly, the quality's not where I want it to be, and I want you guys to be able to see what you need to see, so I'm redoing it. So once I get this up, the other one will be taken down. I am going to be doing, so if you watch that other video, I'm actually going to be doing this a little bit differently. So I'm going to work just a short swatch, but I'm actually going to work a short swatch with two different types of yarn. So the first one, I'm just going to use the yarn that you see here. This is the CashSilk Sock from Expression Fiber Arts. This is the colorway Icy, if you care. And I'll be doing that with the hook size that's in the pattern, which is a G hook, I think. US 6 4.0 millimeter needle or hook. So I will do a second. So I'm gonna start at the beginning. I'm gonna work the foundation single crochet. I'm going to work the half double crochet row, and then I'm going to work rows 1 through 4 basically, and then I'll work rows 3 and 4 again. But I'm going to do each one of those things twice. So I'm going to start with the foundation single crochet, and I'm going to be doing it with this very thin yarn. So the problem is finding a yarn that's light enough that doesn't blend into my background here. That's also not too dark is a little bit difficult. But also it's just, this is a very thin yarn. It's very small. It's kind of hard to see the stitches anyway. And so after I do the foundation single crochet with that, I'm going to be doing a foundation single crochet. I'll make a second swatch with a thicker yarn. So this is Dewy DK, also from Expression Fiber Arts. If you care, the colorway's Jungle. I'm going to be doing a larger swatch with this yarn, and I'll be using US I or 9, which is a 5.5 millimeter hook with the Dewy DK. So basically I'm going to do each section twice, one right after another. So I'll do the foundation single crochet with the CashSilk, then I'll do the foundation single crochet with the Dewy DK. Then I'm going to do the half double crochet row with CashSilk and the half double crochet with the Dewy DK. So essentially I'm just going to be working one right after the other. So feel free to use the timestamps to watch the parts that you would like to watch, and you can just jump over or skip the parts that you're not interested in watching. So let's get started. So to start your foundation single crochet, you're going to want to put a slip knot on your hook. And I like to have a little bit of a tail to my slip knot just so I can hold that when I make my stitches. When you make a foundation single crochet, so you're going to do chain 2 to start. So I like to hang on to essentially what's going to be the chain stitch each time. So when I make this chain 2, I'm holding on to that first stitch because I'm actually going to work into that to make my first foundation single crochet. So I'm going to insert my hook into that chain stitch that's closest to the slip knot, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 1, and that makes your new chain. So I kind of pinch that, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and that makes your first single crochet. Then you're going to go, this is the repeat. You go into the chain that you made, the last chain you made, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 1 to make the chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make the single crochet. Again, insert your hook into the chain that you just made, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 to make a new chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make a single crochet. And you're just going to repeat that over and over again until you have the number of stitches you need. So in my case, I need 9, and I have a total of 3 right now. So yarn over, pull through, yarn over and pull through 1 to make my chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make my single crochet. That's 4. Insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 to make my chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make my single crochet. That's 5. Insert my hook into the chain, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 to make my chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make my single crochet. 6. Yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 1 to make my chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make my single crochet. 7. Insert my hook into the last chain, yarn over, pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 1 to make the chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make the single crochet. Insert my hook into the loop, and this should be the last one, yarn over and pull through 1 to make the chain, yarn over and pull through 2 to make the single crochet. Okay, so from the stitch on your needle, if you want to turn them, so the tops of your stitches are actually going to be facing down at this point, so away from the top of your hook. So if you want to turn those, you can count your stitches across the top. So just count the V's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you will have this little hole down here on the end. That's just, ignore that. That's just your little tail at the beginning. And as you work into it, that should kind of level out. All right, so that is the foundation single crochet on the CashSilk sock. You are going to want a total of 109 if you're working this. So like I said, I'm just doing a shortened swatch, so I'm just doing 9. I highly, highly recommend that you count your stitches after you do the foundation row, whether you do the foundation single crochets or you do the chains and then work into the chains a single crochet. I highly recommend that you count all of your stitches before you begin working row 1. Now the alternative to doing the foundation single crochet is to just do a chain of 110 stitches, chain all the way across, just 110 chain stitches, and then skip that chain that's closest to the hook and work a single crochet into each of the rest of the chains, which will give you a total of 109 single crochets. All right, foundation single crochet on Dewy DK. By the way, if you want to work this project on a thicker yarn, you totally can. It will work. You want to make sure you have plenty of yarn because the yardages are going to be different, and you want to use a bigger hook so that you get the same texture. All right, so we start with a chain 2. And again, I'm just kind of pinching down here where the chain meets my slip knot so that I know which stitch to work into. It's just kind of habit. So to do the foundation single crochet, insert your hook in the first stitch or the first chain stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, that makes a new chain. So I always pinch that chain after I make it so that I know that's my next chain to work into, and then yarn over, pull through 2 to make a single crochet. Insert your hook into the last chain you made, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, that makes a new chain, yarn over, pull through 2, that makes a new single crochet. Insert your hook into the last chain you made, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 to make a new chain, yarn over, pull through 2 to make a new single crochet. So you're just going to continue this. Insert the hook into the last chain you made, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 to make the new chain, and yarn over, pull through 2 to make the single crochet. And you can just continue that same sequence to make the total number of foundation single crochets that you need. In my case, I'm going to make 9. When you insert your hook in the previous chain, go under both legs of the chain that you made to yarn over and pull the loop under that. And that's going to help keep it looking nice and neat. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So you should have a total for you of 109 foundation single crochet to begin your piece. Okay. So row 1 on the CashSilk Sock. So once you finish your foundation stitches, you're going to want to turn it so that the V's are facing up, and then you are going to start this row with a chain 2, and then you're going to work 1 half double crochet into each of the stitches across. So yarn over the hook, insert it into the first stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all 3. That's your half double crochet. So that, again, yarn over the hook, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3. So you're just going to do this half double crochet all the way across. Once you complete row 1, it's a good idea to count your stitches again to make sure you have a total of 109 half double crochets in row 1. And let's do row 1 on the Dewy DK. So row 1 starts with the chain 2. So after doing the chain 2, you're just going to work a half double crochet into each of the stitches across. So yarn over, insert your hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Next one, yarn over the hook, insert it into the stitch, yarn over and pull through a loop, and then yarn over, pull through all 3 loops on the hook. And you're just going to do this all the way down. So yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 3. Yarn over the hook, into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. Yarn over the hook, into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3. You're just going to do this all the way down your piece. And when you get to the end, you should have a total of 109 half double crochets stacked above your 109 foundation single crochet. So at the end of working row 1, this is what you should have. So on your bottom row, it's going to get the strands out of the way here. Your bottom row is going to seem more open, like little gaps in between the stitches on the bottom. And then the second row is going to be a little bit tighter, a little fuller. Same thing on the Dewy DK. So this is what you should have when you get to the end of row 1. Before moving on to row 2, I want to draw your attention to the stitch anatomy. If you look at the wrong side of the work, which is the row that we just finished row 1, worked across the wrong side. If you look at the stitches, so over here on the right side where we started with this chain 2 over here, and then we worked the half double crochets. So these posts, the legs coming down here that are coming down vertically are the posts. So you can see each stitch has the 2 legs, and then it has a little wrap around it over here. And then you have the top of the stitch here. So the what we'd call the head of the stitch or the top of the stitch. And if you look at each stitch, so you have the post of the stitch, and the top of the stitch is slightly to the right of each post. So if we were working in the round, we would be working into the tops of the stitches that are slightly to the right of each post. So when we turn to begin working row 2 into the fabric, I want you to kind of be aware that, first of all, the tops of your stitches, because we've turned and we're working flat, the tops of each stitch are going to be to the left of the post. Okay, so the post of our stitch is here, and then the top of the stitch is here. Also, so if you're working in the round, when you work into the tops of the stitch, it's pretty easy because you have the vertical bars, you're coming above that, and then you're working underneath the horizontal bars. But when you are working flat, that is, you're turning after each row, what we call the third loop of the stitch is it's a second horizontal, it's a third technically. So you have the two horizontal bars that make the V that runs across the top of the stitch. But then you have this third bar that runs horizontally across the top of the stitch, but not at the very top. It's slightly underneath. So when you're working flat, normally you insert your hook over that third loop, so above that, but then under the two horizontal bars that run across the top. Okay, so this is going to be important as we're working across, and the reason why is when we're working the post stitches, that is, working around the posts, you want to be sure that you're coming underneath that third loop to go around the post. But what that's going to do is it's going to take the entire top of this stitch, so the third loop and the top of the stitch that you work into that post, and it's going to push it toward the back of the work. And in doing that, it's actually going to start to push the other stitches also toward the back of the work. So when you go to work your single crochets, so let's say you've just worked a post stitch around this stitch, when you go to work into the next single crochet, not only are you going to have to come over to the left, like further than you think you are to get into that stitch, but you want to make sure that you're actually working into the top of that stitch, which is going to be all the way back here. So you don't want to work into the third loop and one bar of the top of the stitch. You actually want to work into the very top of the stitch. So you're going to need to rotate your work a little bit to get to the top to work into that. So let me go ahead and demonstrate row 2. So technically, when you're back here at the end of row 1, to start row 2, you work your chain 1 and then you turn, and then you're just going to start with a single crochet, and that's going to go into the stitch that's at the base of your crochet hook. So just right there. Okay, so right underneath that chain that you just made. And then we're going to alternate front post double crochet, single crochet. So our front post double crochet, we're going to come down from where we are, and we're going to want to go around the next post to the left. So we just worked over this stitch. So we single crocheted over this stitch over here, the first stitch. So we need to come to the second post, and you want to insert your hook from front to back on the right side of the post, and then come behind the post and come back out from back to front on the left side of the post. And then you're going to technically, let me start over. So you want to do the yarn over first, and then you want to go from front to back on the right side of the post, go behind the post, and come back out from back to front on the left side. And you just want to yarn over and pull that strand underneath that post that you just went behind. So you're just pulling that strand behind that post, and then you're just working a double crochet as usual. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So because you're not working into the top of that stitch, it's actually moving the top of that stitch all the way back to the back of your work. Okay, so keep that in mind. The top of that stitch is now back here, and it's actually kind of, if you look at the front, it's coming at an angle over from the left of the post that you just made. So I don't know if you can see that real well, but get my little pointer here. So if this is the post I just made, this stitch that's coming off kind of the middle of it to the left, that is the top of the stitch that we just worked into. So you want to make sure you're not working your single crochet into that. You actually want to come to the next stitch to do that. So as you're working these, once you do your front post double crochet, you want to find the next post. Okay, so you just work the front post double crochet, come over here and find the very next post, and then you want to work your single crochet into the top of the stitch that is above and slightly to the left of that next post. So come up, make sure you get over that third loop. So that first horizontal bar, the one that's lower down here, you want to come above that and then go into that stitch to make your single crochet. From here, once you've made that single crochet, where your hook goes next to make the next front post double crochet is going to be straight down. Okay, so we worked that single crochet into the top of the stitch that's to the left of this post, but then we need to go to make that next front post double crochet, we need to do our yarn over and then bring the hook in from front to back on the right side of the next post. So we already worked the stitch that belongs to this post, which means when we finish making that single crochet, after we do our yarn over, we're coming directly down, like straight down from the single crochet we just did, to go into the fabric from front to back and then come behind that next post. All right, so every time you come behind this post, you do want to make sure that you're going underneath that third loop. So yarn over, pull that through, and then yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. So again, after we do the front post, we're going to find the next post and then come into the top of the stitch that's above and to the left of that post to make our next single crochet. And again, you want to make sure you're going over that third loop and then coming into the top of that stitch that's kind of rotated over toward the back. And to make your front post double crochet, the next one, you're going to do your yarn over and come straight down from the stitch you just made. So if you look at your, if you get your piece all spread out, you're basically coming straight down from the, see if I can hold this and show you and keep it kind of spread out. Probably not. So this is the stitch you just made, and down and slightly to the left is the post that you need to go around, starting on the right side. So you're basically going to go straight down from the single crochet you made to go in on the right side of that post and then come back out on the left side of that post. Okay, so yarn over and then just come straight down from where your hook is, go in on the right side behind the post and out on the left side, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, and then you need to make your next single crochet. So find the next post and then you're going to single crochet above the third loop in the top of the stitch. So find the post, come over to the left of that and make your single crochet, and then do your yarn over for your front post double crochet and come almost straight down, and on the right side of that post behind it, back out on the left side, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, find your next post, come over and above that, and again you want to make sure you're not going into the third loop, you want to go above that third loop to get into the stitch, make your single crochet, and then you need to go, let's see, make sure I have, yep. All right, so one more post stitch. So from that single crochet, you're going to go straight down. So do the yarn over and then straight down from that stitch, go around the left side of that post, out on the right, go in on the right side of the post, out on the left side, yarn over and pull that through, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. And then to finish out this row, you need to do a single crochet in the last stitch. So you should have one post left. You do want to come to the left of that post. You want to be careful because we also have this chain two over here, and you don't want to work into the chain two. The top of this stitch is going to be very far rotated to the back. So if I look at the stitch right here, I see if I can do a pointer with my left hand. So I've got this bar that's showing right here. That's what I'm seeing on the front. But if I rotate around, the part of the stitch that I actually need to work into is all the way back here on the back. So when you work that final single crochet, you want to make sure you come above that third loop and then come to the back to make sure you get under both legs of the top of that stitch to make that final single crochet. So it is going to be a little difficult at this point to actually see the texture real well. the front posts are gonna, the front post stitches are gonna stick out just a little bit. You should be able to feel them, the little bumps, but it may not be really visually clear yet. So don't worry about it. They're gonna, as you work more posts above that, they're gonna start to pop out. Okay, so let's do row 2 on this thicker yarn, bigger fabric, easier to see what's going on piece. So if I go over the stitch anatomy again, this is looking at the end of row 1. So your foundation row should have, it should be have these nice little gaps between each stitch, and then your half double crochet row should seem a little bit more filled in. So you should just have the little gaps at the tops. If you're looking at the row that you just did, so finishing row 1, you have over here on the right, you have your chain stitches coming into your first half double crochet. And then each of the half double crochets, if you look at them, you have the post of the stitch with the top of the stitch coming over here to the right. Okay, so if we were going to work into these stitches, it'd be really clear to work where to work, because the heads of the stitches are just very, very obvious. But when we turn to work on the wrong side of the fabric that we just created, technically we're working on the right side of the work, but the wrong side of these half double crochets have the, let's see if I can pull that out of the way a little bit so it's easier to see. Maybe it's not going to cooperate with me. Hang on. Okay. So we have the, it's easier to see once you get past this last stitch, but you have the post of the stitch, but then the top of the stitch that post belongs to is actually to the left of the post. All right, so it comes across the left. And then we also have this third loop that we want to make sure, as you're working across this row, when you go around the post, you're going in from the front, behind the post, and then out from the back, that you're going underneath the third loop, and that you're not coming up too high around that post to make that stitch. You don't want to go under the top of the stitch but above the third loop. You want to make sure you're getting actually around that post when you make that stitch. But again, making the post stitches is going to cause the top of the stitch to bend over toward the back. It's going to come up. So you're going to make the post, and as you make that next post, the top of that stitch is going to kind of come up and be coming down at an angle but toward the back. So then when you go to make your single crochet stitches, you're going to need to come over, find the next post, and come up from that and over to the left, and then above that third loop to go in and make that next single crochet. So let me demonstrate that. Okay, so to start row 2, we actually start on row with the row 1 facing us still, or the wrong side facing us. Do a chain 1 and then turn. And we begin row 2 with a single crochet that's going to come down at the base of that chain stitch right there. So that first stitch, don't skip a stitch here. And then we are going to be working a repeat of front post double crochet, single crochet all the way across. So to do our first front post double crochet, you go ahead and yarn over the hook, but then you want to come with your hook, you want to come straight down from the stitch that you just made. If you look, here's the stitch I just made, and this hole, not this hole, but this hole below that is where I want to go in on the right side of the post with my hook. So I'm going to come down, come straight down, go in from front to back on the right side of my post, come behind my post, and come back out from back to front, yarn over and pull that through behind that post. And then just complete my double crochet, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Once I've made that post stitch, I need to come over and find my next post and then go above that and to the left to get into that next stitch to make my single crochet. So I just want to make sure I'm coming over the top of that third loop and then into the stitch above that. Single crochet. And then my next front post double crochet, do my yarn over, and I'm going to come again straight down from where I was on the right side of that next post. So go in from front to back on the right side, come behind it, come back out from back to front on the left side, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then I'm going to find my next post, come up from that, above that third loop, and then over to the left to make my next single crochet. And then my next front post double crochet, I'm going to be coming straight down from where I just worked that stitch to go in on the right side of the next post, front to back, behind the post, out, back to front, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. From that, I'm going to find my next post, come over to that, go up and to the left, and then make sure I'm going above that third loop to go into that stitch and make my single crochet. And then I'm going to make another front post double crochet, so straight down from where I am, in from front to back on the right side of that post, behind the post, out from back to front, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then to finish out, so when you get to the very end of your row, you're going to have your final post, which is here, and then you'll have your chain 2, which is over here. And your single crochet needs to go into, it's going to look like the top of that chain, but if you look, find the post, what's most likely going to be visible is that third loop. So you want to come above that third loop, and you need to probably turn all the way to the back to get into the top of that stitch. Just because it's between the chain and the front post that you just did, it's going to be pushing the top of that stitch from being at the top to basically facing the back of the work. So into that stitch and single crochet, and that finishes out row 2. So row 2 on the thicker, the Dewy DK. Again, it's not going to be terribly obvious where those posts are yet. The tops of them should be bumping up from your fabric a little bit more than the rest of the post. But you really need to get several rows of the post stitches in a row before you really get that texture. All right, so row 3 on the CashSilk Sock. So row 3, we start at the end of row 2, do a chain 1, turn to the back. So at this point, this is probably going to be the tough part of the project, is just working into the row where you have to do the back post double crochets, alternating with the single crochets, and that's because your stitch anatomy is all messed up from the front post double crochets that you worked in the last row. So a lot of times we see projects that have front post double crochet alternating with back post double crochet, or yeah, it's not quite as common to have the post stitches on both sides of the fabric, and so it's not, it can be a little tough to see. So the first thing I want you to know is you can look at the tops of your stitches. So if you pull your hook out and you just kind of rotate the top towards you so you can see the very tops of the stitches that you just made, you should be able to tell the difference between the single crochets and the front post stitches, and that's because the single crochets are going to be smaller than the post stitches. So the top of the single crochet, top of a post, top of a single crochet, top of a post, all the way down. So it may not be like, for instance, here's a post and here's a single crochet. It's not real obvious, but most of them are. So that's kind of the first thing, is just be aware of that. Also be aware that your tops of your stitches are going to be rotated toward the side that's facing away from you. And so it may be easier in working this row to just get in the habit of flipping the fabric towards you as you work each stitch. So to begin with, we're going to work a single crochet in that first stitch. So I'm just going to come around until I can see the top of that single crochet that's closest to my hook, and single crochet there. And then for my post stitches, you should be able to feel them a little bit. All right. So depending on how much sensation you have in your fingertips, I know that can be a problem. So don't, I understand. But there should be a bulkier piece of the fabric there. All right. So that's kind of the first thing. So go ahead and do your yarn over first. And then if you get the post, if you can get the post to kind of lay across the edge of your finger, you should be able to just poke the top of the crochet hook in near the, so you want to come near the top of the stitch. All right. Don't come way down here. Come as close to the top as you can, but you should be able to just kind of butt up against the side of that post with your crochet hook, and it should slide right through. Okay, so to go under that post, and then just do your yarn over. And I like to grab the fabric and actually use the back of my crochet hook to kind of press up against the fabric that's going away from me as I pull that through, and that's just going to keep it from snagging anything. So do your back post double crochet, and then your next single crochet. So again, let's look at the stitch anatomy if we can. So here we have our post stitch coming up right here. And then we have what looks like the top of a stitch right here. And it's like, okay, so I need to do a single crochet there? No, do not do a single crochet there. If you come down from the top of the post and you come across the head of the stitch, this is actually the top of the stitch that we just worked into. Okay, this is the top of the front post double crochet that we just worked the back post double crochet into. So because we're working around the posts instead of into the tops of the stitches, the tops of those stitches are going to be either in front of or behind. Well, technically, yeah. So when we work the front posts, they're going to be behind. When we work the back posts, they're going to end up in front of our post. So in front of and slightly to the left. So we don't want to go into this. We actually want to skip this and come to the next stitch over to make our next single crochet. So we're going to come down from our post, skip the top of the stitch that you can see immediately to the left of the post, come over one and make your single crochet there. All right, and then do the yarn over, flip your fabric a little bit so you can get to the front, and then just, again, if you just poke the tip of your hook in or up against the edge of that post, it should just bump right over the top of the crochet hook. And then just yarn over and pull through a loop. Yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, come down, like visually, come down from that post, find the top of the stitch that's slightly to the left, and then we're going to come over one more stitch to get into our single crochet. So one stitch to the left of that that's hanging out next to the side of our post stitch. And then yarn over, flip your fabric a little bit, butt the tip of your crochet hook up against that post, and it should slide right under. Then yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, come down from the post, ignore this top of the stitch that's to the left of the post, and then come over to the next top of the stitch. Single crochet, yarn over, flip the fabric, butt the top of your crochet hook up against that post and through, and then yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. Come down from that post. Don't go into the top of the stitch that's over to the left of that post. Come over one more and then into that stitch. So if you do that all the way across, it will get much faster and easier. So once you kind of get the hang of where the stitches are and how to get to them, it should get much, much quicker for you. And then as you start making rows of these post stitches, they're going to start sticking out more and more and going to be easier to find the more rows you do. Okay. So let me do that same thing on my other swatch here. So at the end of row 2, we do chain 1, we turn, and then we're going to work a single crochet into this very first stitch at the beginning of the row. And then we're going to need to flip the fabric forward, do the yarn over, flip the fabric forward, and just poke the top of your crochet hook up against that post, which should, if you can get it to lay over your finger a little bit, it should be really easy to just get it to slide right over the hook. Yarn over and then pull through a loop. So I will recommend that as you do your yarn over and your pull through, so kind of pull with your hand on the fabric towards you, push your the back of your hook up against that post, but then turn so the mouth of your hook is kind of, so you don't want it facing the post, you don't want it facing the back of the fabric, you want it facing kind of into that pocket between the top of the stitch and the back. And then you should be least likely to snag anything if you can get it there. So yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then I'm going to come down from that post. So it's really obvious on this bigger piece. So come down from that post and it looks like here's the top of the next stitch. No, this is the top of the stitch you just worked into. So you come down from there, and then to the left of that, top of that next stitch is over here, okay? And so again, with the bigger fabric, the difference in size between the front post double crochet and the single crochet from the previous row is really obvious. So I have the big one from the post stitch and the small one from the single crochet, and the big one from the post stitch and the small one from the single crochet. So after the post stitch, come down, skip that big stitch that's from the post stitch that's right up next to your post. Come over to the left and into that next stitch, make your single crochet, yarn over, flip that fabric forward, poke the tip of your crochet hook in there, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, come down from that post, and then over to the, not the one that's right next to it, but the stitch that's to the left, single crochet. The other way to get your hook into the post is sometimes you can fold your fabric a little bit as you're making your, so like you have your fabric, you go to make your yarn over and just kind of fold that fabric away from you. So the wrong side's away from you, and so the right side's away from you and the wrong sides are facing each other. And you may also find it easier to get into the post that way. So just as you make your yarn over, kind of fold the fabric from the last stitch you made, and then you should just be able to poke your crochet hook right in behind that post. Yarn over and pull through a loop. If you do this fold, it's really easy to pull the fabric away from the mouth of the crochet hook as you pull it through. So you may find that easier than flipping the fabric all the way towards you. So just whatever works for you. Come down from that post, kind of visually come down, find that the top of the stitch that's kind of to the left of that, and then come over 1 stitch, single crochet, yarn over. I'm at the end, so it's far harder to fold the fabric, but get into that post. And again, you just want to make sure you're going through the post as close to the top of the fabric as possible. Make that last post stitch, and then finally come all the way over here to the end when you get there, and single crochet. So that is what it looks like after row 3 on the larger, thicker fabric. So I am going to work row 4 and then row 3 one more time on both pieces, just to give you just a little bit more visualization of both. So at this point, your post stitches should start to be more defined on the front, and then you should have this really, it should be creating a very flat fabric on the back with very little texture at all. Okay. So row 4 is technically where the repeat starts. You're basically working row 4, row 3, row 4, row 3, row 4, row 3, and then ending with row 4. So you are going to end your project at the end of the right side when you finish. So I will work from this point. I'm just going to work row 4 and row 3 one more time on the CashSilk sock. So we start with a chain 1. And technically, when it's facing when you're looking at the back of the work, do the chain 1 and then turn, and then you're going to work a single crochet into the first stitch that's directly below that chain, and then we're going to be working the front post double crochet, single crochet all the way across. So when you're working the front post double crochet after you have it established, you just want to make sure that you're going underneath as close to the top as you can when you make this, when you go into the post. Okay, so the problem is it's going to seem like one long continuous post, and it is possible to get your hook down underneath a lower part of the post, which is technically not the post that you just made. So you want to come up as close to the top as possible to get in behind that post when you make these post stitches on this row. So post, and then remember our single crochet is going to be over further than we think it is. So if you look here from the post, the top of that stitch is coming down at an angle from that post stitch, and then my single crochet is going to be this itty bitty little stitch to the left of that. And then to make the next post stitch, I'm actually going to come directly down from where I just made that single crochet. So it's going to kind of seem like a straight down shot to get to the right side of that post and come behind it. So front post double crochet, and then come over to the little stitch to the left, further to the left than you think it's going to be. So if you're looking at the anatomy, you're actually looking for the stitch that's directly to the right of the next post, if that helps to find that single crochet. Oops. Right, so single crochet, front post double crochet, single crochet, front post double crochet, and then do that all the way to the end and finish off with one more single crochet. And again, the top of that stitch is going to be rotated toward the back. So just make sure you get into the top of that stitch and don't actually work into the third loop. And then row 3, so we're just repeating after work row 4, we're going to repeat row 3. So let's do it backwards. So technically you chain 1 and then you turn, and you're going to work a single crochet into that first stitch that's at the base of the chain. And then we're going to do back post double crochet, single crochet all the way across. So flip the fabric forward, come in again as close to the top as you can, yarn over, pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and then I'm going to come to this top of the stitch that technically looks like the second top from the post. So just like when we worked row 3 the last time, that the top of the stitch that's to the left of my post is technically the top of the stitch I just worked into. So I'm going to make sure I come one stitch to the left of that each time. Single crochet, back post double crochet, single crochet, back post double crochet, single crochet, back post double crochet, and single crochet at the very end. So that is row 3 again. And once you finish that, you should have longer posts. Your posts won't seem exactly straight. They should kind of do a little bit of a zigzag just because of how you're working. If you were doing post stitches like working in the round, they would look a little bit straighter than working post stitches where you're working flat and changing sides because of the shift in the top of the stitch each time. So that is basically working this pattern on the CashSilk sock. So let me do rows 4 and 3 on the Dewy DK. So to work row 4, we're going to start with chain 1, and we're going to turn to the front, and we're going to begin with a single crochet in the stitch that's at the base of that chain. And then we're going to be doing a front post double crochet, single crochet all the way across. And so you can again turn and kind of see your stitch anatomy on the top. notice that those stitches, they're wanting to move or already kind of rotate toward the back of your work. Your single crochet spaces, your single crochet tops are going to be a little bit smaller than your front post or your post stitch tops. But as we work these post stitches, you just want to make sure after you do a single crochet, you're basically coming straight down to go in on the right side of the post and then behind. Okay, so do our front post, yarn over, in on the front, around that post. You just want to make sure also that you're coming around that post as high as possible. Okay, so you want to get under the post you just made and not lower down where you're going around a post from a previous row. Okay, so yarn over the hook, go behind that post, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, maybe. All right, and then we want to come over the top of that stitch that we just worked into is now back here. I don't know if you can see that. So here's the post, and if we rotate around, the top of that stitch that we just worked into is back here. So we want to make sure we're coming all the way over into the next stitch, right? For that's where our single crochet goes. So from this point forward, it's probably easier to find the single crochet by coming to the top of the next post and going back one stitch than it is to try to go over and find it from the stitch where you're working. So find that next post, come back one stitch, that's where your single crochet goes. And then to do the front post double crochet, you're going to go straight down under where you just made the stitch to go on the right side of the post that you're going behind. So down there behind the post, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. I'm going to find my next post, come back one stitch, make my single crochet. Whoops. Snag something. So I'm going to back up a little bit here. I feel like that snag happened way, way, way sooner than I thought it did. All right. Come back. So just worked a front post. So I'm going to find my next post, come back one stitch to make my single crochet. And then yarn over and come straight down from where I just worked to go on the right side of the next post. Go behind that post, yarn over and pull through a loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. Find the next post, come back one stitch to make my single crochet. Whoops. Make sure I get under both legs of the top. And then come basically straight down from that stitch I just made to go behind the next post. Find my next post, come back one stitch to make my next single crochet. And then come straight down to go behind the next post. And you're just going to do that all the way across until you get to the end. And remember that your last stitch you're going to need to find because it's going to be rotated pretty close to the back of the work. It's going to be rotated pretty far back. Okay. So single crochet in that last stitch. And that is the end of row 4. And then to work row 5, chain 1 and then turn to the back. And then you're going to work a single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to be doing the back post double crochet. So yarn over the hook, flip that fabric forward so you can see the top or the front of the work, the right side of the work, and then you're just going to poke the top of your hook underneath that post stitch as close to the top of that post as you can. Okay, so we want to get right underneath the top of the stitch. We don't want to go into that post lower down anywhere. Okay, so you want to make sure that the top of your crochet hook is coming in to the top of that post stitch and not lower on that post stitch, or it's gonna decrease the height of your fabric. Pull that loop through, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. So from that post, if I look to the left of that post, there's the top of the stitch I just worked into, and then I'm going to go to the little stitch that's to the left of that. to make my single crochet. So again, back post double crochet, rotate everything toward me so I can see the front of my work, poke the top of my crochet hook in to that post as close to the top as possible, yarn over and pull through a loop, then yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two, come down from that post and find the top of the stitch, that's the stitch you just worked into, and come one stitch to the left of that, that's your single crochet space. Yarn over the hook, make the next back post double crochet, come down from that, go find the top of the stitch that's to the left of that, and then go one stitch over for your single crochet space. Yarn over, back post double crochet, and then come down from that post, find the top of the stitch that's at the base of that on the left, and go one stitch over from that to make your single crochet. And you're just going to do that all the way to the end of your piece. And that is the repeat of row 3. So at this point, you should have an even flatter piece on the back. It should be pretty uniformly flat. You do have like the bumps where the yarn's coming over, but the more that you make, the flatter this is going to start to seam on this side. And then you should have really good definition of the posts at this point. So you should have bump, bump, bump all the way across. Okay, so that is in a nutshell, I guess, or two nutshells, since I did it on two different, two totally different swatches. That is your clue 1 for the Connote pattern. And I hope I've provided some useful tips for getting those stitches made. I know that the back post double crochet rows especially are not terribly simple to do, but with practice it's going to get a lot easier. Okay, especially if you know which landmarks to look for. I feel like it's gonna become simpler to do. So yeah, hopefully this was easier to see than the previous attempt at this. I'm really sorry about that again. It's just I'm already looking ahead and thinking I'm gonna need contrasting yarn, but also I may have to kind of trade off which color is doing the light color for the swatch, because I don't know that I'm gonna have any luck finding a good dark color to contrast that still shows up well on camera. So okay, so since I'm remaking this video anyway, and there's it's highly unlikely I'm actually going to get it released before the next clue comes out, I did have a question on the previous iteration of this video that had the darker colored yarn that was hard to see, asking how do you count the rows? Like help me count the rows. So since I'm doing this anyway, I figured this would be a good time to work on counting, or to just kind of go over counting the rows. So I find it, so I will tell you right now how I counted my rows. If you're already into the fabric, it's not really going to matter. But I actually use this. So I use this a lot in my knitting. I use it less in my crochet because I actually have to attach it to a project in order to use it. But what I do is I basically take a locking stitch marker and I just attach it on the edge of my project. And then it has this little clip, they call this a melody clip, which totally makes sense because it looks like a little musical note, technically 2 notes. But so it's just on one edge of my fabric, and then as I work, I put it on the row that I'm working, and then when I get back to it, I know I need to move the stitch marker 2 rows down. So for instance, I would put it on when I start row 1 and work across, and then when I get back after I've worked across row 2, I'd move it to the 3, and so on and so forth. So this is linked in the pattern description below, or in the video description below. Just if you're interested in it, I don't work for the company or anything. I don't get any kind of financial incentive for telling you about it. I find it really helpful to help keep track of rows, so you're not having to like put your project down and write something down, or or turn a thing. You're just basically moving a clip that's already attached to your project. If you've already worked your project and you're trying to figure out, do I have enough rows? I strongly recommend, rather than trying to count the rows on the front, I recommend coming back here to the back. Okay, so first of all, back here, your foundation row should be really, really obvious. It's the row that has the nice open work down here. Okay, so that's your foundation row. So everything above this is a counted row. And so if you look at, and I hope you can see this, so I'm going to kind of do a pointy thing. Well, I'm going to try to stretch and point at the same time. If you kind of pull your fabric apart, you should see this nice line of, stitches, or I don't know what to call it. So you should see little vertical bumps coming down. And if you pull it apart just a little bit more, you should actually start to see a hole between those vertical bars. All right, so if you start down here above the foundation row, find that first hole, and that's really a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you can see I'm literally just pulling the fabric apart and finding the next row, the next hole up in this line right here. I don't know if I can see if I can grab an itty bitty hook and just kind of slide it in to give you a better visual. Maybe. All right, so got my line of holes kind of folded over my hook here. Let's see if I can get it nice and visible there. All right, so if you can find that line, you literally just have to count the holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay, and my 20 is here where the end of the hook is poking out. So that is really going to be the easiest way to count. The other way to count is if you see these little, it almost makes like a box. The bigger holes and the vertical or the horizontal strands make a box. That's actually 2 rows. And so if you're just trying to get a sense of, do I have to do 2 more rows or do I have to do 4 more rows, you can just count the boxes. So this first one is just a half box. But then after that, you've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. And you've got your extra row down here and your extra row up here to get your 20. So that's really the easiest way on this particular project to count rows. You can come over here to the side and count where you've got the bumps. So a bump out is 1 row and then a bump in is the next row. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so on and so forth. Okay, all the way up to your 20th row. It's just depending on how you're working your edges, it may not bump out as much for you. And so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me to say for sure, yep, that's how you count your rows. So I feel like if you just come back here to the back, pull that fabric apart a little bit and find the holes that it's making in that line, just be aware that you want to get those, you want to make that hole nice and, what would that be? Like that shape. It's almost like a keyhole shape that you want to pull each one into. And you want to make sure you're going straight up the line. There is 1 hole if you're going straight up the line. Obviously, there's going to be more on either side. But for me, that's the easiest way to count the rows, either that or count by 2s for each of these squares that you're making. If there's anything else you want to see, please let me know. You can leave a comment in the YouTube comments. You can leave a comment in the Ravelry forum, wherever you would like to, or you can send me a private message on Ravelry too. Just let me know if there's something you'd like to see that I haven't shown, and I'd be happy to do that. So thanks.